Another week has gone by, and yes, here we are, and I know it's Accordion Cool because that's what the sign says, and I think I'm Coach Dave, and hopefully that covers all the business end. Well, there's no real theme today, just a bunch of tunes, a lot of tunes I play in my live performances, so thought I'd just throw a few more into the mix for today. That first one, I'm not even sure if I can pronounce it. I definitely can't spell it. I think it's called Bimir Beast du Chêne. Bimir Beast du Chêne. Written in 1932. And it came from a Yiddish show. It's like a Jewish or Yiddish song. And in the Catskill Mountains in Pennsylvania, they have a lot of resorts. Jewish resorts, and they played this kind of music. So I kind of liked it too. It's a fun little tune. I think might have been the Andrews. One of that group way back when also had a big hit on it. And I don't know if the words are in Yiddish, but they sang it in English, so it worked out well. So, Bimir Beast du Chêne, or something like that. All right. Well, this next tune. But not for me. They're writing songs of love, but not for me. Not for me. I'm not sure where it came from. It was written by the Gershwin brothers around 1936. I don't think it was in a show. I think the two brothers got together one morning and said, "Hey, let's write a song." So they're writing songs of love. Not for me. Here we go. song to love, but not for me, but not for me. I don't think, like I said, I don't think that came from any kind of show or anything, but I could be wrong. I know, highly unlikely, but this next tune is one of my favorite songs, Pretty Ballad. And not a lot of people did this. It's called Here's That Rainy Day, and it kind of, snuck into the fold for a while, and the musicians loved it. And some fellow named Frank Sinatra, he recorded it. And the song was written in 1953. It's called Here's That Rainy Day, and it's a pretty tune, so I think you're going to enjoy it. Here's that rainy day. Well, we don't have too much rain around here in the middle of the summer when we're taping this show, and it's pretty warm out there. But I remember I did this show on one of my first albums, and Paul Bish, who was the engineer, Paul's no longer with us, but he was also a great piano player. Now, I studied with a fellow who was a great organist. This is years and years ago, and he gave me all those beautiful chord changes. Well, Paul almost had a heart attack, and he just rewrote everything the way it was originally. So it sounded a little boring back then, but so I'm back to using the other chord changes. All right, enough of that. Next tune was written by a fellow named Juan Tizol. Who? Juan Tizol. Juan Tizol, he wrote several tunes. He was a trombone player with the great Duke Ellington Orchestra, and actually I heard this tune. Art Van Dam did it. I wasn't aware that Juan Tizol actually wrote it until a later time. But a little tune, fun tune called Perdido. Perdido. I like that little tune. I play that a lot. It's a fun tune to play. Fun tune to play. Well, we're moving right along, and this next tune came from around 1934 or so, and it was written by Irving Berlin. Now, I don't know if I don't think, well, maybe it came from a show or something, but I wasn't aware of that. But it could have been, one of those shows, those infamous shows that they run for 10 performances and they're dead. Unfortunately, the great music comes out of it and remains. And this little tune is called Cheek to Cheek, or Dancing Cheek to Cheek. So let's see what it sounds like. together, dancing cheek to cheek. Well, we're getting down close to the end of our time, so our last tune, this next tune is one of my all-time favorite tunes. I make sure I play this on every live show. Written in 1953. It was written as a waltz. It was called In Other Words. In Other Words. And, you know, it was a nice little tune. People played it. People sang it. 1963, that same fellow, I can never think of that I mentioned earlier. Oh, yeah, Sinatra. He decided to record In Other Words. However, old Frankie's not going to play those silly waltzes, so he changed it to 4/4 time, little up-tempo. Changed the name. Little tune called Fly Me to the Moon. So let's see if we can get through this. Fly me to the moon. Well, we got to start thinking about flying out of here ourselves today. You know, that would be a great, ever watch Jeopardy? That'd be a great Jeopardy question. The answer would be 240,000 miles. And of course, the question would be, how high or how far is the moon? Fly me to the... Oh, never mind. Well, as usual, thank y'all for watching, listening, tuning in, however it is you get this little extravaganza. And, of course, the big guy behind the glass, Austin, he, as I said 1,000 times, if I sound good, it's up to him, and if I don't, well, there's obviously something wrong with the instrument. And I think I've had this thing for almost 10 months. I think I might have finally tamed it and get it to do the things I want it to do. No, not to play on its own by itself. But a couple of the sounds that I used, I made them. And me and electronics and computers are mortal enemies. So, again, thank you all for watching. And we can probably take it home. Let me see. Maybe oh, and I know we can fly. Never mind.